Hello, everyone. I'm Gerald. Welcome to the podcast where I'll share my thoughts on life and leadership. This podcast is for everyone who loves the local church, whether you're leading the way or serving faithfully on a team. And if these conversations encourage or challenge you, hit subscribe, leave a quick review, and share this episode with a friend on your team. Let's keep growing together as we build teams that build the church. We will be talking today from our book, It Takes a Team. You know, this is our 40th year of leading our church by leading our team. And my goal in writing this book is not just that you would read it, finish it, put it on the shelf, but rather that it would be a team-building handbook for leaders and for teams. And we sell most of these books in bulks, 2 teams that are going through it together, and you can find out more at kevingerald.com. Today, we're going to talk out of chapter 9 on mindset matters. Mindset matters. And mindset matters not just in your life, but it also matters in ministry. And we're going to talk about a growth, flourishing mindset versus a fixed fear mindset. Now, I know when I say that, you might wonder, well, what is a growth mindset? Why is it important to leaders and to teams? A growth mindset is the idea and the belief that we can get better at things. That's basically it. It's like you keep the growing going. And, you know, that's a mindset that the Scripture just is filled with encouragement that we would be that way, that we would continue to grow. Psalms 1 talks about the tree planted by the river of water. And it's like an image of our life. The psalmist makes it like, I will be like a tree planted by, I'm going to bring forth fruit in season, whose leaf doesn't wither, whatever he does prospers. It's a constant theme. The Bible teaches us that the church of the New Testament was a growing church. So leaders and teams with a growth mindset will see themselves and they'll see the team around them as always being in process, learning and developing and constantly improving and getting better. Leaders and teams without a growth mindset have what we're calling a fixed or a fear mindset. And these leaders and teams have more limiting beliefs when it comes to improving and learning and developing and getting better. So what person, when I say that, let me ask you, what person in Scripture comes to mind as somebody who had that fixed mindset? Like some of you right now, you might immediately go to Moses. Like Moses is like, you know, God, I don't know why you call me to do this. I don't talk very well. How can I lead if I can't communicate? Or maybe Gideon. You think of Gideon, who was by a wine press. The angel appears to him, says, come on, man, we need a leader to lead the people. And he's like, not me. I'm not your guy. Have you looked at my history? Have you looked at my background? I can't do that. That's that limiting mindset. A growth mindset, you would think of somebody like Nehemiah, who just said, hey, our city can be better, the city of Jerusalem, we can build it, we can make it better. So those are just examples of biblical characters who we have taught about, we've talked about, and if you can just see it in this framework, that there are some who had limiting mindsets. They had fixed mindsets, and every time they did, it was difficult for God to really use them. So if you would, just say this with me, mindset matters. Say it again, mindset matters. What we're going to do over not just this session, but the next session, we're going to include and continue this talk, and we're going to give you 6 examples of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. The first example is how you see problems and obstacles. So, in other words, people with a fixed mindset will see problems and obstacles as barriers that will hinder them or keep them from succeeding. They will hold them back. Obstacles and barriers hold me back. That's a fixed mindset. A growth-minded person or a growth-minded team will see the problem and they see the obstacles, but they see it as something that can be overcome. They see it as something like, wait, we can do this. Like, we can change that. We can make this situation stronger, better. So think with me for a minute. When you think of yourself, you think of your team in this area. How do you look at obstacles that are in your way? With a growth mindset or with a fixed mindset? And just to summarize what I'm explaining to you is that a growth mindset sees problems and obstacles as opportunities for growth and progress. See, your problem is not the problem. How you see the problem is the problem. Remember when Moses sent out the spies to spy out the land of promise? Like, that's one of the big examples of this, because they came back with two different reports. And there were some who had a fixed mindset who said, we cannot do it. Like, we can't make this happen. Like, there are giants in the land. It's Numbers 13 that I'm referring to here. And then there were a couple of guys who said, Joshua and Caleb, they're like, no, we can do this. Yeah, there's giants. I see the giants, but let us go up at once and take possession. We can overcome the giants. And so that's what we're referring to when we talk about people who see problems and obstacles one way versus people who see the same problems, same obstacles the other way. I hope this is helping you to understand, and your lights are going on. Your people process problems two different ways. People process obstacles two different ways. So while most of the spies focus on the problem in the opportunity, Joshua saw the opportunity in the problem. And let me just say this, God's church needs, more than ever before, positive, faith-filled, optimistic leaders. Leaders with a mindset that says, giants are not going to stop us. The giants are not going to hold us back. That is a challenge there. There is, there's a barrier there. There's an obstacle there, but we can and we will move forward. And I want to just say, 40 years in ministry for us, God's never failed us, but there's many times that He's waited for us to get our minds right. I hope you hear me today. God's never failed us, but there's been many times where He has waited on us, me, our team, to not give in, not cave in to the opposition. Don't let ourselves have self-pity parties, no grieving, no mourning. Think about killing somebody, get out of anger, and just get our minds right and see the problem, but see the opportunity that's in the problem. Okay? Two kinds of people in the world, Simon Sinek says. People who see the things they want and people who see the things that prevents them from getting the thing that they want. Okay, so the second example of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset is how you receive feedback. How you receive feedback. A person with a fixed mindset sees feedback as a threat, a criticism, an attack on them. You sit them down, you give them feedback, and all of a sudden they're defensive. That's a fixed mindset. A person with a growth mindset sees feedback as a benefit to them, an opportunity to improve, a chance to get better. So just to summarize what I just explained to you, a growth mindset says feedback is a gift. That's what they think. Like, thank you so much for helping me see something that I would not see otherwise. Thank you for helping me with the blind spot that I have. I really appreciate it. That's a growth mindset. And the way to have a growth mindset is to be open and receptive to feedback, to actively seek it and welcome it. So pause for a moment, reflect a little bit, ask yourself, do I have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset in this area? Growth or fixed? Maybe you can think of your team. Maybe you think of the people that you work with. Do we have a fixed mindset as a team, or do we have a growth mindset? Statistics tell us that 90% of people believe that they are self-aware. And studies show that only 10 to 15% actually are. Which means, hear me out on this, which means that 75% of people are unaware that they're unaware. So this really is an issue when it comes to fixed versus growth mindset. I mean, everybody wants to grow. Everybody wants to improve. Everybody wants to get better. Everybody, needs coaching, needs feedback. But not everybody leans into feedback. If you're with somebody, turn to them right now and just say this out loud. Or if you're by yourself, say it out loud. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. See, that's a really good thing to say and to realize we're all in the same boat. I don't know what I don't know. We have to know ourselves to grow ourselves. We have to know where we can improve. Growing starts with knowing. Growing starts with knowing. All feedback is not equal, however. Hear me on this part. There's too many critics without credentials. So you got to be careful. Like, too many critics without credentials. There's people who always offer, their input, but all feedback is not equal. Go ahead and hear it, but it's not always right. It's not always fair. But listening, being open, asking questions is what people do when they have a growth mindset, because they're hungry to hear anything that helps them be better. The best, highest paid, and most successful people in the world are people who are hungry for helpful feedback. And that's how we want to be. We want to have a growth mindset. What can I do better? When people think they know but don't know what they don't know, it hinders you from knowing. Is you getting this? It hinders you from knowing. And pride, remember, watch out for pride. You may not identify it as pride, but pride causes us to not have a teachable posture. It hinders us from listening and learning. Okay, the third example we're going to share today on fixed versus growth mindset is how you see mistakes, setbacks, and failures. So a person with a fixed mindset sees mistakes, setbacks, and failures as proof of their inability to do something. They see failure as final. It's like, I knew it, I can't do it, and they just think that's the end of it. They become discouraged and defeated. They settle where they are. But a person with a growth mindset responds to a mistake, a setback, a failure with resilience. They see failure as temporary and a part of the process in which they will succeed. So let me summarize that for you. A growth mindset sees mistakes, setbacks, and failures as part of a growing process. So ask yourself, growth or fixed? Where am I? Where's my team? Are we in a fixed mindset? Maybe some of you will say, well, we're kind of in between. That's okay. I just want you to see that mistakes and failure are part of learning. And when you have a growth mindset, you understand that. You realize striking out is part of being a great batter. Missing shots is part of being a great shooter. And how you think of failures will determine the relationships that you have with your failures. Because all of us are going to have things that we see as failure. I failed in that. I didn't do it. I got a B. I didn't get an A. I got a C. I could have done that better. Okay. Everybody misses shots when you shoot. If you're a shooter, guess what? You're going to miss shots. In basketball, the shooters will, 3-point territory if they're shooting. I don't know, maybe they make 50% of the time, 60% of the time, really good. Like, you got to be able to get through the times that you miss something, you don't get it right, to be able to be the ones who can persevere and would have the resilience to keep on moving forward, learning from the things that you made a mistake on. So, again, you can see failure as something that condemns you, or you can see it as a teacher who is guiding you. And if you see failure as a guide, you'll learn and you'll be better because of it. So today we're going to summarize this with giving you those three aspects again, examples of a growth mindset. First of all, number one, problems and obstacles are opportunities for growth and progress. Number two, feedback is a gift. And number three, a growth mindset says mistakes, setbacks, and failures are part of a growing process. Okay, we're going to continue to talk about how mindset matters in our next edition. I'm going to share 3 more examples of a growth mindset. And if this helps you today, please share it with somebody. We appreciate you helping us build teams that build the church.